All right. So there's a lot going on with Age of Sigmar right now, and I just had a feeling I wanted to get my thoughts out there. So I've read a lot about what's going on with these rumors. They sound kind of, I don't know how to describe it, like marginally believable. So I guess this guy, Bull, who was always pretty accurate with rumors, um, he'd put out. Oh, my audio is probably clipping. I don't know how bad it is, but he put out this real doom and gloom kind of nasty post, uh, just freaking out, saying a lot of real bad stuff, and account got removed or deleted or something, and then it came back, and now we are kind of getting updated rumors. But supposedly, I've seen people say that Bull has left the company ages ago, and so a lot of their information might be wrong. However, there are other people that are supposedly active at the company that are proofreading the core book now, which I guess makes sense because they've got like a 2-year production cycle or something, and have confirmed a lot of it. So the basic thrust is that the whole thing is just going to be a reboot of the old world. Sigmar specifically is taken out of the equation. Whether he's dead or missing, it doesn't really matter. It seems like a lot of sources have said, hey, he's just gone. So, presumably, if this is true, and I kind of think it might be, shoot, I guess I didn't run out far enough. I gotta trigger the boss first. But if that's true, I don't know if it's that big of a deal. I think the biggest deal for me when it was really effective was I think Bellacore made it so Stormcast couldn't reforge anymore. All right, back. So Bellacore's already done it. He's already made it so Stormcast or Mortal or something. So then we got like Mark II Stormcast. Um, so that's kind of like whatever to me. Um, there's a lot of blatant like, oh, this stuff is legit. Just Jesus, does this not work anymore? Uh, some of the stuff I don't trust is there a lot of rumors saying this is 100% just um, Warhammer Fantasy Reborn. Like it's the world is identical to setup of the old world. Um, like I think even like Sylvania and stuff's kind of in the same place the way it was described, and the High Elves are on an island, and the Seraphon get their own land. Um, just real crazy stuff. And then supposedly Stormcast can't reforge, but they have like gene seeds now, and for some reason, supposedly, there's even a rumor that they have to sacrifice a bunch of wizards every day. Which, if you don't know, that's how they keep the emperor alive. Is they sacrifice like 1,000 psychers to him every day, and that's now supposedly coming to Age of Sigmar. Um, a lot of this stuff, for some reason, one of the things that all the rumor people are claiming is nothing is being retired or made generic. Somehow, all of the mortal heroes that we have today are going to survive this, and it's going to continue on as if nothing happened. All the factions are going to remain the same, and all that. So it's really kind of a weak reboot. I mean, they have dramatic stuff happen in the lore all the time. And so to me, that's not such a big deal. But one of the things that I think is a big deal is the whole idea is they're moving things onto a single planet. That to me is like the biggest mistake and the most basic thing that's part of these rumors that I don't really know. Like, if that's not happening, then none of these rumors are happening. And I kind of hope they're not because it's such a blatant, like, it's, if you've been around Age of Sigmar for any length of time, you know that there's this just kind of troll post you see all the time where basically somebody says, like, I'm a millionaire and I play every war game there is, but I will never purchase an Age of Sigmar miniature because it's not Warhammer Fantasy Battles. If Age of Sigmar was Warhammer Fantasy Battles, I would instantly drop $10 million on miniatures and I would buy every army. Basically like I am trying to hopefully trick people into thinking I have a lot of money that I'm going to spend as soon as, whatever my petty desire is fulfilled. And that's what this kind of whole thing sounds like. It's like, maybe somebody in charge of things really hates Age of Sigmar, so they got their way and were able to destroy the setting or something. But um, anyway, I shouldn't rabble too much on this. My big point that I think is going to be a huge mistake is putting things on one planet. I really think that's a mistake. Now, if you ever played Warhammer Fantasy Battles, nobody gave a shit about the lore. I know that sounds weird because there's a million lore videos. The reason there's a million lore videos is because the Warhammer Fantasy RPGs um, created a bunch of history and lore through modules, and they set up the world we live in and all of the history. But here's the thing, like, none of that crap happened organically in the setting. It couldn't happen, right? Everybody needed to be in a stalemate. If they're not in a stalemate, then we're probably going to be missing a bunch of factions are going to get destroyed, right? Like, oh shit, dwarves only really exist in like one little part of the world. I think Carrick Egg Peaks might have been something that was in game, but I like, there's no frontier in something in a world like Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Um, Everything is explored. We know where everything is. In every corner of the world, there is a city or a faction stronghold or something. There were parts. My understanding, Warhammer Fantasy Battles did have a time where like Lustria wasn't all mapped. Uh, but the way that this is being talked about is just all of the areas we know about already are just getting pasted onto a globe. Um, and it's kind of hard for me to describe why I think this is such a problem. But the issue is, I played through a couple editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. I didn't give two shits about any campaign that came out or any of the lore because I already knew it all. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we're going to have a war supposedly, but it's going to end in a nothing scenario. The same thing was happening in 40K. It didn't have to be that way. The rumor, no idea if this is true. I've never gone and verified it, but the rumor was Rick Priestley got bent out of shape after the Eye of Terror campaign, which me and my friends played through in high school, because the creatives at the time were making things happen in the world. And what I had been told by a friend who knew a lot about this crap back then was supposedly Rick Priestley, one of the original creators of 40K, said, "You guys don't touch my fucking setting. Don't you dare change anything in it." I could believe that that's false for sure. Rick Priestley seems like a pretty cool guy. I've watched a lot of videos and other projects that he's done. But that's the rumor, and it seems to have been true, right? Because if you know 40K, it seemed to completely stagnate between the Eye of Terror campaign and really 8th edition. 8th edition was the point where you started seeing dramatic changes happen in 40K again, which was always allowed because the universe or the galaxy is so vast. Of course, you can have planets where meaningful things happen. Of course, you can have frontiers. Um, and we're starting to see that again in Warhammer Fantasy or 40K. Like the Nachman Gauntlet. Um, I don't think you can ever close the Nachman Gauntlet or anybody can really win that conflict because then it's going to pretty much completely cut off the Imperium. But the fact that they were able to make it is something at least. Anyway, what I would be concerned about is if you look at each new edition change, we've had huge shakeups in what's happening in the Age of Sigmar. And then we also have large areas of the world that we get to explore that are new. Um, and there's like so much frontier and it's infinitely expandable because the realms are always expanding and new territory becomes safer over time. Um, I like that. It keeps me excited. It means that they could destroy like the blighted the what the hell is it called? The Parch or whatever, where the main everything's happening on Akshi. It's where Hammerhall is and all the other cities we know, Anvilgard, all that. They could absolutely destroy it, and it would be very impactful. But at the same time, they can just have more happen on the frontier. They can just have a new frontier open, and maybe the Dawnbringers had created a new city or whatever. It's infinitely expandable, and they don't have to stagnate the world and the storyline. Um, and I fundamentally believe that you absolutely do have to stagnate uh, a single world where these larger than life factions are constantly fighting. Like, they have no reason to have peace. Um, but bringing them all and cramming them into these tiny, or I say tiny, but like finite continents, it seems like kind of a big deal. Like, I feel like there was enough going on in Akshi. I didn't feel like, oh, Akshi is really boring. They really need to have, Nagash or something uh, coming over the hill with a bajillion skeletons. I liked the idea that there were these points of interest, these they needed to fight over. Hang on. Okay. Child in the background sending the old mother to go take a look at him. Okay. I don't know what they're crying about, but we'll check it out, see if everything's okay. But the realm gates were these points of interest that they made sense. They made sense for, like, we need to fight and protect these because an invasion into our realm can occur from here. But now we have things as broad as borders. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And we're probably going to be bordering multiple factions. It doesn't make sense to me personally that they would just be like, oh, yeah, well, I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, they can't even really say it's like mountains or something because there's so many fractions that can just tunnel through mountains. Um, Come on, guys, give me a break. I should have got another blue flask. But I think it opens the conflict up too much to where I could see somebody maybe being like, oh, it just makes things more exciting. That's so excellent. But you can't maintain that situation for very long narratively without something happening, right? It's like, I don't like the whole world being the fucking Western Front of World War II all the time, and we just won a great campaign, so we moved the trench line 20 feet forward or something stupid like that. I mean, think about how impactful, like, the Gnaw was. Well, what if, how could you do something like that on the current globe where it's populated by everything? Um, Like I say, I don't. I think it's a mistake. I think we'd be losing too much because of it. Eh, been too long since I played this game. But like I say, it's a little hard for me to put into words why I hate the idea of a single planet. But it just that crap was miserable in Warhammer Fantasy. I think it's one of the reasons why it's one of those games people eventually just stepped away from. And that's what happens. It's just you lift your head up every 10 years, you buy the one new model kit you're going to get for the edition, you play a couple of games, and that was kind of it. Um, just I don't know. Warhammer Fantasy really stagnated a lot, and didn't, and I don't see how they can do okay. The entirety of the realms is now one world, and not have it just turn into like okay, now here's the stagnant stalemate that everybody's stuck in. Yeah, they're constantly fighting, but nothing's happening. Um, doesn't mean that they can't pull it off and make something interesting of it and show that I'm wrong. But I guess the idea of a frontier and the idea that they don't just have to reveal a new island. They can just say this is new claimed land, and there's going to continue to be new land to claim over time. Um, I really liked that, and it gave me at least a sense of excitement for what was coming, and it really felt like they had the freedom to do whatever they wanted with these settings, with the with this with the lore. Whereas I really feel strongly like if they put everything into a single world, that's kind of like the end of it. We're just stuck in a oh, you know what? I wanted to change my flasks too. All right, we got man. I gotta find a way to disable these tutorials. Although I guess I need one. There we go. Is it R? No. L down? There we go. Y down, yeah. Triangle down if you're playing PlayStation. Okay. So, I mean, maybe something like Dark Souls or Elden Ring is a good analogy of what I think will happen to the world, right? Is everything will just stagnate and eventually decay. Because they're going to be limited in what they can do with it. Um, it won't be stagnant at first, but it's going to get there. Oh shit, I forgot how to play this game. I don't even remember what this guy is. Determination. I don't even know what that does. Increases your poise or something, doesn't it? But I guess that's one of my big. I don't remember how to get off my horse. I don't remember what this guy is. Sorry, but I guess I feel like the world's going to stagnate, and we're not going to have any new stuff. There he is. But getting distracted by this game now. But so that's my big concern is Age of Sigmar as it stands is infinitely expandable. It makes sense why realm gates are so important. It's a big deal if one of them's lost, but at the same time, because of the nature of the realms, things can happen in the world, and things have been happening in the world that have been very impactful and a big deal. But I mean, think about this for a second. If they're going to make the globe finite, and the rumors say they're going to pack, they already got like 6, 7 factions they're going to pack into this world. Um, and they're all going to be in tiny little locations like in the old world, right? Like it's just one of those things. It's like, oh, there's a conflict between supposedly. I mean, it's so the stuff is so on the nose and so blatantly like a Warhammer Fantasy Battles like hater of Age of Sigmar saying this is going to turn into the old world. It's ridiculous. So one of the things is there's going to be a Bretonian faction on a little tiny France area, and you know they're going to be at constant war with the Flesh Eater courts. Well, the Flesh Eater courts should win that fight because they're basically infinite. So I mean, like, how can you make it so this tiny like micro faction can really secure their area and not get overrun? And how can you do anything interesting in that area without destroying one or the other faction? You can't. So after you've written down that they're there, you just do nothing with that area for the rest of its existence. You can't like in Age of Sigmar in the realms right now, you can materialize land. You can have that microfaction conquer land that didn't exist or wasn't talked about before, and suddenly they have more territory, and suddenly they're not a microfaction, they're like a full-sized faction, you know. But in a world that's like, here's the thing, the writer that defines what everything is and where it is in this world today is pretty much the only person that has power over where everything is. They can maybe have like a few no man's lands where things can go into different locations, or maybe it can get swapped back and forth from time to time. But for the most part, none of that stuff can change like in Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Otherwise, like, if this stupid ass little um, France faction loses a relatively small area on the map. I mean, like, think about this for just a second. Like, if the Skaven were able to bring, like, tunnel into the realm and bring their realm in, the realm of chaos still exists, supposedly. All of the chaos gods are just in the north of this fucking planet? I don't think so. Um, and supposedly the All Points is there, and I guess the All Points lost all of its teleportation magic or something. I don't know. It's really dumb. Um, but supposedly the All Points, I guess, because it wouldn't make sense for I don't believe it could make sense for the All Points to continue working. Because I mean, one of the guys talking about it said, "Hey, in the Chaos Wastes in the North, just like Warhammer Fantasy Battles, you can get to the All Points." And if that's true, it's just I don't know. It's just it's really frustrating because like I had to deal with it in 40K. I hated this in 40K. After the Eye of Terror campaign, like I said, something happened and they had to stagnate the whole setting. And they would pretty much just pull a planet out of the lore. They would have a campaign happen there and nothing would happen. And it would be irrelevant that the freaking campaign even happened and there was no result from it. I hated that as a kid. And it made me, after I learned the basic, lore, I basically was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm done with this. I guess I'm not interested in what's going on anymore. Um, but uh, but and the same thing in Warhammer Fantasy. I only played seventh and eighth edition of Warhammer Fantasy. Um, but I knew of it from much earlier. And, it was novel at that time because I was a new player to the setting. But I didn't participate in any of the campaign, any of the Storm of Magic or, freaking Chaos Invasions or none of that because I knew it was all stupid and irrelevant and it would be pointless. I guess the point was to play games, but I mean, I played games when I could play games anyway. Um, and a lot of that stuff, they would sell new miniatures that were only really relevant for the campaign. And there was a bit of at least most Warhammer Fantasy metas that I had played in, there was a bit of like, I guess, sportsmanship. Like, oh, we're not gonna play these units, or we're not gonna spam this stuff because it's a negative play experience. And we don't want to do that. So actually, it's up to you to come up with a army that is balanced and your opponent will actually have a good time playing against. Well, that's just not the way games are played now, but so if that's the truth, and why the fuck would I buy all these Storm of Magic monsters that nobody wants to play against and that are just a pain in the butt? I wouldn't. Um, but like I say, that was the something I really didn't like about. That's something I really didn't like about 40K, and I didn't like it about um, Warhammer Fantasy either. Once I really kind of got used to the setting, uh, But I mean, I kind of, at that point, I had given up on being interested in the world because of my experience with 40K. 40K, I just disliked the gameplay of 5th edition so much, I stopped playing for a long time. Age of Sigmar, and I think part of it is the Realms format. I really enjoyed. Uh, and I've liked all the new editions coming out and all the new crazy stuff that they do and exploring the new realms that we get and exploring the new terrain. And I really get excited about that stuff. Um, and it's a big deal for me. Like I say, it's something that excites me. It's something I enjoy. And the idea that like in my opinion, it's going away. Um, Maybe I'm wrong. Wouldn't that be wonderful? But you know, they fumbled it even when they had a universe like 40K and were afraid to change things. And I just feel like what can they do, especially with, like I say, they're I don't know how to describe it except they're filling in all the blank spaces on the map. You know what I mean? Like the way the rumor is coming out, all the empty spaces on the map have been filled in with a new faction already. Um, so I don't know. Um, we'll see, but that's my main complaint. I mean, obviously, I think that. Oops. I think that what we're getting is, or what's being presented is still fairly improbable. But enough has happened that, or so many people have basically confirmed that's what's happening. And they've been saying real strong stuff, like literally, I am in the middle of proofreading this book right now. I mean, it's a pretty bold statement, and then to basically confirm, the way that a lot of these guys are talking about it is like, they're just like, hey, I don't know why he's revealing this now. It's just going to cause drama. It's just going to cause problems. Um, not a situation of like, uh, oh, this is completely untrue. But I don't know. What I would have preferred is, well, no, I wouldn't have preferred this because this is what they do every edition. They usually focus on a different space in time. They usually focus on a different like point in history, or we'll just summon him. I don't think we're gonna beat Margot. I actually have a bit of trouble with him, regardless of even when I'm playing a class I'm more comfortable with. But we'll fight him once. Oh, maybe I should spend my runes. Actually, that's. Do I have to dismiss Roger? All right, Roger. I guess we'll die and we'll lose our runes. It's not a big deal. But you could just sidestep those. Well, I deserve that. All right. But we lost our runes and we can't get them back. So let's get the heck out of here. But yeah, I don't know. I'm disappointed about it because I feel like if they do, I think the one thing I think could be, like I say, even if a lot of the stuff that Boole had said is wrong or has been changed since then, um, the one thing everybody seems to agree on is that it's just moving into a one planet setting. And like I say, I think that's a big problem. Um, and I just think it's going to stagnate the setting. Um, you know, a lot of these rumormongers are saying like some real shitty things that make me wonder what's going on here. They're basically like really cynically saying it's just to sell to people that play 40K, and it's just to sell to people that want Warhammer Fantasy. Like I guess to get the video game crowd. Um, like I say, there is a troll post that is very prevalent, which is, uh, "Hey, I would spend money on this if it was not Age of Sigmar and if it was instead Warhammer 40K or um, Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Usually it's the Warhammer 40K people saying they want it to be Warhammer 40K. Oh man, please die. Oh, a Somber Stone. Level 1. Who's this guy? I don't remember him. Some kind of knight. But, back then it was the double turn. A lot of people would say it for, like, oh, if Age of Sigmar didn't have the double turn and alternating activations, and like when you charged, you struck first. And basically, they would list everything about Age of Sigmar that was different than 40K, and they would claim that they would, spend $1 million worth of miniatures to get into the game. Um, but this is what the Warhammer Fantasy lovers have been saying for ages. Um, so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Like I say, like I've said constantly through this whole ramble, um, I really consider it a mistake because I just can't see. Like it'll be cool for maybe the first while that the edition's out. Um, Now if it flops, and I hope it does, because I would rather have the I think there's a phantom here, isn't there? Yep. You're too fast. Don't rush. Incidentally, I like this dagger spell. I forgot how much input reading there was in this game. And if you pay attention, he moves as soon as he gets the input read. Ouch. He moves as soon as he gets the input read, and then he gets hit by the spell, as long as, I still keep him in the path of the spell. Like, I've never seen, I could be wrong about this, but I do not remember these NPCs being able to dodge the magic glint blade unless it's by chance. Um, when they do their input reading, they just say, "Oh, he's cast a spell. Dodge now," at the time that it would hit us, um, which does nothing for them. And usually they get hit by the blade as long as you angle it properly. But yeah, I don't know. But anyway, they can always course correct. The latest rumors are, of course, Sigmar is not dead. Um, there is he's just hiding out. Um, and I mean, like, I don't know how the realms even got combined in the first place, because like how do you even destroy a Azir? Like, there's a lot more to it than just like the ground. Did they actually destroy Malice, or I guess maybe the all the realms formed around it, or some stupid shit? Then it really would be the old world reborn. Um, but I think they could course correct pretty easy, because if it doesn't work out, they can always just break the world apart again into the realms. Um, which for me, that's my preference. Or maybe, and that could be interesting to explore. They could just go crazy on the world and just destroy it again in another end times. Um, but like I say, my preference is just to keep the mortal realms. Um, but who knows? Anyway, I think that's about all I have to say. I think it's probably the general thrust, I think, is probably true. Um, I would prefer if it wasn't. But some of the crap coming out is just there's too many people that supposedly have access to this stuff, um, that are all saying the same thing, and some of the real crazy stuff uh, has since been kind of tempered. Um, and it makes sense why the people that were saying it might have been at least slightly inaccurate about what was going on. Um, but so, like I say, I kind of think it's happening. I think it'll be fine. No matter what. I think it was really nutless to basically say we're going to hard reset the world, but at the same time, we're not going to change anything. That was pathetic in my opinion. If they really want, like that's kind of indicative of why I think also that the world's going to stagnate, is because here, basically the whole world's getting destroyed and nothing's happening. Like everybody that's saying this is happening is saying not a single miniature is going away, not a single mortal named character is going away. Um, it's only going to be new stuff. Uh, all the factions are going to remain. It's one of those things. It's like so nutless. Like I say, it's like no balls at all. So if you're gonna make this kind of a pussy move to where you're scared to even kill an old man that happens to have a name, like you can't even kill fucking Callous and Tall or whatever. Um, or I think the Free Guild have this really old ass lady that would be not hard to replace. Even just give her a different name. It could basically be the same lady. But I mean, like, she's an old geriatric on a palanquin or something. I mean, if you don't even have the balls to fucking replace these old characters, like, what hope do you have of doing anything impactful in a world where everything's all arranged to be in conflict all the time and kind of exactly where you want it to be for nothing to happen? So that's my big problem. Um, Now, what does that mean? For me, it means I'm certainly, I'm going to get up on the lore and I'm going to get current, but I just don't see it being interesting or impactful. Like, I think it's going to be like I can't stomach Warhammer Fantasy battle novels, but I consume Age of Sigmar novels a lot. And one of the reasons Age of Sigmar novels are interesting to me is we explore that frontier and we explore those factions in a way that you can't experience, through the army books and through the in-game lore. Um, and it's usually very interesting. It has a very interesting twist, or they'll build up a new nation or a new, basically empty spot on the map that you had no idea about, and it really fleshes things out in a good way. Um, And like I say, I'm convinced if you're so weak that you're literally going to blow up the whole world, turn it into Warhammer Fantasy battles, and fucking not even kill some geriatric on a palanquin that can't even walk, uh, because you want to preserve all the models in the range. I mean, like, give me a break. You're not going to do anything interesting on that world once you've filled in all the blanks. You can be a little interesting in explaining what's in all those filled in blanks, but once they're filled in, it's done. And it's just kind of a stagnant world. But anyway, Pebble Arc Starlight. I think that's about all I've got to say on the matter. At this point, I think that this world thing is probably happening. It's I've heard too many rumors that sounded like too much bullshit that have come from people exactly like this that all turned out to be true, pretty much exactly like spot on to what they said. So at this point, um, I'm pretty confident it's happening. As much as I think it's ridiculous or it sounds like bullshit, April Fool's is today. So if they were gonna say, surprise, it was a joke, uh, they they've kind of lost their opportunity. Um, because almost everywhere that they're working, it's probably already April 2nd for them, if they even have that holiday. These cuckoo nights are actually really pain in the ass. Um, so I think it's happening, and I'm afraid of the settings stagnating. And if it does happen, and they're such bitches, they can't even have any meaningful changes, I feel certain that damn. I don't remember getting doused by one of those pots in the past. Steak America. So it stopped my healing and it seemed to make me slow roll as well. That's interesting. Um, no one give me no freaking loot, bro. But if they're gonna do like, I don't know, it doesn't bode well. It's like I feel like whoever's behind it is creatively bankrupt and they just kind of got the directive to do something profitable with very little risk. And I think on paper, this seems like it might not have that much risk. I think it's going to be pretty risky because I can tell you I'm less excited about it. And I don't see how making people not excited for your setting is a good thing. But at the same time, like this is one of the big problems. Age of Sigmar absolutely has a stigma around it. You know, you could make a any Games Workshop property. You can make a video game about it, and it will be successful unless it's Age of Sigmar adjacent. And we've seen this time and again. They've made some really good Age of Sigmar games. Realm of Ruin seemed like a very good game, and that completely flopped. Nobody played it. And it's just, unfortunately, Age of Sigmar has a real stink about it. Damn it. I thought I was off on that timing. Thank goodness I wasn't. Age of Sigmar has a stink about it where no matter what you do Age of Sigmar wise, people will hate it. And I thought there was a game coming out where it was like a combined world game. I could be wrong. I could have just imagined this, but I thought they were going to make a video game that was like, 40K and Age of Sigmar. And I was really I wanted to see that concept because I think Age of Sigmar, for me, the lore is superior to 40K, especially modern 40K. Um, Stormcast are very interesting, and the idea of them reforging and that damaging them has always been very interesting to me because they all have like pretty severe trauma that they're dealing with. And I thought that was really cool because there's a lot. I feel like in my generation, there was a huge veteran gap. You would just see, like Vietnam vets essentially. And, oh, you know what? I forgot to pick up my runes, man. Let's go get them. And now it's like the war on terror has been going on for over 20 years. And everybody's a veteran now, you know? And I think there's a lot of people that can really identify and humanize Stormcast Eternals and really connect with them in a way you can't with Space Marines. Space Marines don't have trauma, they're just robots. I'm sure there have been fiction novels written where Space Marine have fucking feelings, but I mean it's not the norm. Um, they're more like action figures than fucking people. And it can be fun to read, it can be fun to play, but like I say, I just don't think people that are involved in the lore really connect to them as strongly as they connect to something like Stormcast. Um, so I don't know. For them to change that, I think it seems really lame. And I think one of the big examples I've got is they're claiming Space Marines just die, but they essentially possess other humans, and the human like just freaking Iron Man suits on their armor and are given whatever personality and need whatever they had. I don't know. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's hyper lame. Um, so they're gonna trade something that I think a lot of people connect with for something really dumb. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. As long as the gameplay is fine, then I'll be happy with that. But it seems like a huge mistake still. All right. Well, this has gone on for far too long. I really don't have much else to say about it, so I'm just going to leave it there. Um, don't like what I'm hearing. Should still be fine. I really think the thing I'm upset about is they are blowing everything up. So they blew up the old world because they were tired of having a stagnant setting where you couldn't do anything. Now they're blowing up Age of Sigmar to bring back a stagnant setting where they can't do anything, and I think it's a huge mistake. Alright. I'll probably leave this video up if the audio is okay, but it's otherwise kind of a waste of time. It's just me just talking to myself to get my own thoughts together. Anyway, if you watch this, hey, leave an opinion. Otherwise, have a good evening.